So I wake up and I'm just going about my business, and I go to YouTube and my inbox is full with Nvidia videos, and I'm like, what the heck happened? So I go to their website and there's a little note that says unlaunching, because Nvidia is Shakespeare now, I guess, and they are inventing new words. The 12 gigabytes 4080, and I'm like, whoa, what? They are actually going to talk about the obvious mistake that they made by calling this a 4080 and not a 4070? I'm surprised, calling me shocked. Nvidia doing this. The backlash was tremendous, but I didn't expect Nvidia of all companies to actually, just take on the blame and actually, try to come up with a solution. That's very nice to see, You take in the backlash, the community feedback, and then you actually change and you try to improve. That's good. Thank you. And that's surprising coming from Nvidia, but still very nice. Either way, I'm going to be reading the note in full because it's very short, and I'm going to be putting it on the screen so you can also read it, so it's going to be fine. The RTX 4080 12GB is a fantastic graphics card, but it's not named right. You don't say. Having two GPUs with a 4080 designation is confusing. So we are pressing the unlaunch button on the 4080 12GB. The RTX 4080 16GB is amazing and on track to delight gamers everywhere on November 16th. If the lines around the block and enthusiasm for the 4090 is any indication, the reception for the 4080 will be awesome. How can you read this and not just smile, because they are admitting a mistake and they are still gloating about their amazing 4090 launch. Oh, look, there's lines. There's lines around the block. There's so much enthusiasm for this card that the majority of people cannot afford because it's $1,600. Like, no, you are admitting a mistake, and that's cool. And on the next moment, you are gloating about your self-accomplishments when you're charging an insane price for them, and you're gloating about another graphics card that you haven't even launched, and it's amazing. It's on track to delight gamers. Listen, we have seen the benchmarks, and they are from within Nvidia. So you know that when you're seeing benchmarks from within the companies, they're going to flourish it to the maximum. The numbers that you see are going to be best possible number. And we can see that on the benchmarks, because for example, and I'm going to take F122 at 4K with DLSS on. The 16GB 4080 gets 143 FPS, whilst the 12GB 4080 gets 113. And sure, these frame rates are very playable, that's not the point. The point is that the same product, the same product with the same nomenclature, the same name. The only thing that changes is the memory amount, which is not relevant for any performance changes unless you are hitting a deficit in terms of memory, which can happen at 4K and maximum settings. Sure, that can happen. But that's not the point. F122 is not that heavy, so that's not what's going on here. And 12GB is enough. So to have that big of a gap only confirms that we were correct. The 4080 12GB is not a 4080, it's a 4070. And Nvidia wanted to charge extra because if they went with the 4070 nomenclature and that name, they would not be able to have a profit on it. Apparently, at least according to Moore's Law is dead, it said that if they went with what we assume as a 4070 price, they would not be able to make a profit because these cards are very expensive to make. So they try to call it something that it isn't. We know that the die size is very different between the 12GB and the 16GB version, and we know that it has way less CUDA cores as well. It's a different product. It's a 4070, okay? So if they do the correct thing, which I don't know if they can, they're probably going to have to sell at a loss, I would assume. But in my perfect world, the 4080 12GB would become a 4070 12GB, and it would cost $650. I think that's a fairly decent price for it. Probably $599 would be the more fair price, but I seriously doubt they will ever go that low. Either way, on the video I did around like 2 weeks ago, I don't know, time just flies, I don't remember. It was, you know, the previous video I did about Nvidia. The backlash was so tremendous that even I made a video about it, you know. That's when you know that something is really big, when even I do a video about it. So, on that video I said that the difference was around 22% between both versions, and we can see that it is pretty much around that with these benchmarks that we have. And obviously we gotta wait for third-party benchmarks to be absolutely certain of what we are talking about, but things are looking exactly as we predicted. You know, the 4080 12GB is one tier below the 4080 16GB, so it's gotta be a 4070, and if it is a 4070, it cannot cost above a certain threshold, or people are going to go bananas. So I really don't know how Nvidia is going to solve this. In my mind, they're going to have to sell at some sort of loss, because I think that's the best that they can do. They made a product that is way too expensive to manufacture, and once again I'm using Moore's Law is that videos for this assumption. They have very expensive hardware, so they really cannot just, you know, lower the price tremendously, because they're going to be at a loss. So I really don't know what they're going to do. They might sell the 4070 at a loss and try to charge up more on the other segment, and they just take the loss because they can. They are a very big multi-million-dollar company, so they can technically take the loss. So you'll see what they do. I'm just happy that they assumed that they made a mistake and they are correcting it. We don't know how, we don't know when. Probably in 2 months is going to be a launch of the new card, whatever they call it. And I would also just like to say one last thing before we go. I hope Nvidia is going to pay for all the shenanigans involving the AIBs, because it's not their fault that Nvidia was trying to sell a product with a name that isn't the name of that product. So packaging, all of that stuff, they need, and I seriously mean it, they need to subsidize, they need to pay the AIBs at least a big margin of the total costs of getting new packaging and sending the older packaging to recycle and all of that stuff. And all of the logistics that involve just, you know, switching every single packaging, because that's what they're going to need to do. And probably change the name on the actual graphics card as well. It's going to be a mess. But, you know, that's what money is for, so let's see how they fix it, and let's see how things go. One more thing before we go, because I forgot to talk about this. Yes, the DIY market is becoming somewhat mainstream. Yes, that is true, but what we need to realize is that we cannot assume that a mainstream consumer goes to a store and he sees the same name on the packaging, and the only difference he sees is the amount of memory, 16GB or 12GB, and he knows, oh, anything above 8GB is pretty good, so I can take the 12GB version and I'm going to be good, I'm going to be fine. No, that's not the only difference between the two cards. So it was disingenuous for Nvidia to even launch this product, because they're not the same. They're not the same. They were never the same. They will never be the same. And it was the big nucleus of why so many people were mad at Nvidia, me included. I was pissed. I was irate. I was seriously fuming, because Nvidia had the goal to sell a product that was not the same product with the same name, and that's just unacceptable in any way, shape or form. So once again, I'll say this. Thank you, Nvidia, for actually assuming you were going to make a very big mistake. and changing your ways and pulling it back, and let's see what sort of solution you come up with. But at least that's a positive note. Either way, I already talked for way too long here. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. See you next time. Peace.